over completely in a virtual world.
100%, 100%. Okay, so straight away, what we would then do is we would look at, well, we know that. So what are we doing? Okay, what is our intent? How are we implementing the tracking of attendance against hours? So, for example, if we are still saying you need to be in 9 till 5 at work, but because of lockdown, you are working at 2 o'clock at night, but not turning up to work until 2 in the afternoon. What would happen at work is there would be that conversation and that discussion about why, how are we going to get around this? What are we going to implement to resolve that? Okay. That's one side, as in how do we deal with the funding hours? Because they are getting the support. We know that, guys. It's how are externals then going to look at our data and say, prove that they've attended 98% when we know that they are virtually online. And I think that Lisa, alongside you guys, did a great job writing a kind of a standard policy, which adds to the fact that online learning means that the hours are slightly more flexible, and we are checking on these at certain points against risk. So if you're sat there, Mike, with somebody who you think is handling this lockdown really well, or considering, then you're going to maybe touch base with them once a day, and that could be 3 o'clock in the day, knowing that they're going to be doing their work, they're accessing the online platforms, they're teaching. If you've got somebody who is really struggling, non-compliant, then they're going to be the first on your list.
So in that fashion then, Danny, look,
Yeah.
I'm sorry guys, but I'm sure a lot of people thinking this, like where it says 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock, if that person is active, maybe they've already sent me the work from yesterday and I've got it at 5 in the morning. It's like, it's just the 10 o'clock and the 1 o'clock check-in that is, it's a finger in the air job. It
is, but the look at the wider picture around that as well. So the challenge is, okay, you are turning nocturnal. We know you're doing the work. That's not the issue. The issue here is not about you, your capabilities, the fact that you want to do the work. How can we now support you in the wraparound care, which we pride ourselves on, which is when this planet gets back to normal, your job and your career that you would like to be in or that you are in isn't nocturnal. So therefore, meeting us at 10 o'clock is going to force you in a good way to be up. And you don't really want Mike nagging you. You want Mike praising you. But you are going to unapologetically smile at them and say, I get it. I really do get it. But I'm not doing my job helping you if I let you just do the work at 2. Now, I've been where you are. And a lot of the time you feel like you're banging your head against a brick wall repeatedly. I get it. And it's not going to be one rule for all people. There's going to be individual cases and we need to work around that. So my suggestion would be, for anybody else thinking this as well, talk. Left and right, first of all, talk to each other. How are you handling this situation with this candidate, with that candidate? And then elevate that into the brilliant people you've got in Charlie and Emma. And if we have this, and this is great because this is giving qualitative, this is giving flesh and bone onto numbers. So if you can say, Mike, for example, this week, first week of lockdown, 90% of my sessions, all people were late. 50% of Charlie Clark's attendance has not been on time. If you're able to then start to look at patterns to say 10 and 1 is not working, that is what management and leadership decisions, and we'll talk about this in a minute, that's what we need to be able to say, actually, yeah, you're right, because it's not Mike trying his best in that region, it's all AEB learners are showing possible trends of this. Is that all right?
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers. Sorry, Emma, you've got your hands up. Sorry.
No, I was going to give a real life example of how punctuality could be affected and how we can record it when virtual, but
Okay.
You've just pretty much touched on it with Mike, so I'm going to shut up now.
Oh, okay. Not a problem. Now, please keep doing this. I'd much rather these sessions be around you and talking about the factual. This is what it's all about, not me clicking a slide and preaching to you. Okay, so please feel free jumping in there. Thank you, Mike. Cheers. So again, the punctuality we're looking at, just to finish off that, and I know this happens because I'm privileged to every now and again get to look at your lessons and pop in, but I hear it from Jenna. We always have our door open to people, whether they are late with 1 minute to go or whether they are 1 minute late, you still allow them access. We will then follow up afterwards. And obviously we've got to be aware of the disruption for others, but we have an underlying thread around accessing. If they have turned up to that session, that is still good for us because they could have just decided not to bother for the day. So if they turn up late, okay, it's not great, but we can work on that because at least they've turned up. All right, and that's the kind of theory behind it. Okay. So looking at achievement, okay, the completion of a set aim, the criteria of qualification by a candidate, okay, what do we need to do off the back of that? So if that is a completion, and again, I broke it down into an aim, criteria or qualification, what do we need to do as tutors on the front line?
We'd need to communicate to the candidates what the aims are, or the criteria, or qualifications, what's expected of them. So there's an agreement then between tutor and candidate about how they would achieve the expectations.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, Jeremy, because you're setting that starting point, aren't you? You don't want somebody to smoke in your session. Well, you know that at the start of the course, so you tell them the first time you meet them, welcome to our course, right, these are the boundaries and the rules. So if we want to be able to track and, dare I say it, predict achievement and success, we've got to be able to tell people what that looks like. So, and later on we'll come on to a very brief example. But if they don't understand that it's broken down into that way, and we've not told them, how will they know and how will we know where they're at? Yes, Matt, you've got your hand up, mate. So.
I'm not sure my connection's very good and whether you can hear me, Danny, or not.
I can hear you, mate, yeah.
Okay, you just picked on one of my things I've been talking about for a few weeks about smoking. I know it's going off a little bit, but I'll
okay, no,
hopefully bring it back to think. The biggest problem that I come across is people, well, not knowing whether people are engaging with us online, because probably about 50% of all my learners don't show themselves on camera.
Right, okay.
The issue about controlling what they do in their own household, for an example, smoking or vaping, I'm concerned if we lay down the law about what they can do in their own household, will that just lead to them not putting their cameras on so that they can just do whatever they want in the background? And
Sure.
that does affect engagement.
Yeah, and I can get that. I think if I just give a response, which I'm sure you would expect from me, but to put it in connotation, everybody is individual. Everybody has their own opinion on things, especially as a candidate, and especially with some candidates who are in difficult circumstances. What we would need to try and do is to try and paint the picture of this interaction with you. The time that they are interacting with SSG is work time, is that kind of process and practice around, well, okay, if you were doing my job right now and flip it on them, what would your perception be of me if I was smoking right now? So if I was delivering to you and I was smoking, because I'm in my house and I understand these commitments, and try and have that dialogue, and as I know you and as I've seen you do it, you would be able to engage that person into, or people, into a debate, into a discussion around that, and find some common ground. Because again, it's a case of, we want them engaged, because if they're not engaging with us, if they're not participating, we can't help them, and we can't seemingly progress them forward. And a lot of what we're hearing, big picture, external to SSG, and what I'm hearing from you guys as well, is very similar to what you're saying, Matt. This kind of, well, I'm in my home, and this is what I decide to wear, and this is what I want to do, and things like that. We've got to find that fine balance to say, well, we appreciate that and we respect that. Hence why we're not telling you 9:30, turn your camera on, turn it off at 4:30. So you've got to kind of meet us somewhere in the middle, where at points in the day, the professionalism needs to maybe step up into work mode, and we'll have this agreement. So that would be a suggestion. I think we've got to have a baseline. We've got to have common standards. But I think that talking to Charlie and Lisa and Emma around this, especially if you're picking this up as maybe 2 or 3 more people are picking this up and it's impacting. If somebody is doing it very slyly, okay, like at work, a warehouse operative might just nip to the side and say, can I just have 5 minutes? I'm going to the toilet. And they go and have a cigarette and then come back. Do you know what I mean? That is a real world respectful way of doing it, as opposed to, and I'm hypothetically here, just sitting there blatantly going, 2 fingers on my cigarette and 2 fingers up to you, Matt, because I'm in my house and I'm doing what I want. We've got to, do you know what I mean? If you're getting that, that's a bigger issue, I think. That I would be taking that as a kind of a almost a respect kind of element of it, that if you can't wait 40 minutes until a break, let me provide you some support network to go and visit. Let me suggest you go see your GP to try and get some additional support with that craving and need. But it's a good point raised. I think more than happy to have a kind of almost like a focus group. I think this might be something that would be quite good. Lise, you are, if you're there, might be something where we could pull together and talk about these, which they are issues, obviously, but they are the kind of the very specific issues that are online learning that we're now seeing it, because you guys are battle hardened now. Do you know what I mean? I bow down to you. You're way more experienced on this, and you know what works. You know how to get people to do things. You also know what things need to be bent a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to cause you more aggro over here. So if we have a kind of a platform or a forum to like literally do what you've just done there, Matt, I think that might be quite productive. What do we think?
Yeah, I think for me, it's all about engagement. And to be honest, when it comes to engagement, delivering face-to-face, based on my own experience, delivering face-to-face is a walk in the park compared to doing it online.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just can't see, you can't gauge what they're doing. So for me and Charlie and Lisa, not the first time I've heard this, what can we do to increase engagement? And primarily, it is the starting point is getting people to show their face. I've had people on my courses for 2 weeks. I've never seen their face.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I can hear Lisa's brain churning around already, even though she's not saying it out loud. I think that's the approach that we need to take, Matt. We need just to get a different platform in the next few days or so, and let's have it as an optional for you guys to dial in and let's have a chat about these things, where we're able to kind of share best practice, talk about these little things here and there, and then that may well influence bigger into, right, okay, feel reassured, Matt, that process now is tweaked, and process here supports you to say hello, like we do a lot of this. Say hello, you're here now, turn it off if you want, but you're going to say hello in the middle and you're going to say hello at the end. Or again, it's horses for courses, I think, but we need to make sure that you feel that you're supported baseline with this is the expectation as the baseline by SSG, and you know then that if Charlie pops in and does a learning walk on you, you're meeting the baseline standards for that.
Yep.
Yeah, is that okay? I've made a quick note of that. I'll pick that up with you, Lisa, as well. All right, appreciate that. That's good. So just moving on very quickly, the other key quality data around retention. So retention is that we keep them. Very timely from Matt there, talking about engagement. So we are making sure that from the start of the course, they're with us at the end of the course. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't achieve, okay? But they do stay with us. And it's very rare, but that does happen because depending something in their life or the kind of situation they're in, that achievement has not happened. But by retaining them, we're able to utilize that data, or I'm able to utilize that data for Dan to then go back to the funders and support bigger picture. And we'll come on to that in a minute. Success, well, success is the culmination of achievement and retention. Progression and destination, I just put those two down there because it's a good opportunity to identify again. The progression is then moving forward, moving upwards, and that could be inch by inch, or it could be by leaps and bounds, okay? The destination is where they've ended up. So if they have progressed onto a level 3 course from a level 2 course, that is fantastic progression. If they have moved from a level 1 course to another level 1 course, that's destination. It's not progression. Okay. We can demonstrate progression if they've done that through our PDRs, which is why they are really important, and they're being reviewed as well at the minute. They have progressed within their core skills. They have progressed within their professionalism, like we've just talked about. They've progressed in their punctuality, which is fantastic. Okay. So, oh, sorry. What I want to do now, if possible, is have you break out. Okay. So I think I've already assigned you to the groups, and I'm just 2 groups, and discuss this question really. Why do we need quality data? Just as simple as that. Okay, why do we need quality data? Okay, so once you've talked about that, you're going to just nominate one person, a representative. They're going to come back, they're going to feed back to the whole group your top 2 reasons for that question. Okay, so you might come up with 20, you might come up with 2, but you're just going to choose 2 of that. Okay, and then feed back in. So we're going to give 6 minutes. And I figured out that actually I can close these rooms and it kicks everybody back in. So I'll do the timing on that. Don't worry. I'm just going to open up the rooms now and you should go through automatically. Okay. Charlie and Emma, I think you would imagine that you guys have been split into each of the rooms. So if we do have any kind of snags or silence, please lead on that. But I know we've got a good 14 leaders in this group, so we're fine. Okay. I'll see you in 6 minutes, guys. Okay. Hi, Victoria.
Okay, Danny, am I in your group?
Hi there, Beverly.
Hi.
No, I think I assigned you, I think, Beverly.
I haven't been transferred at all, so...
Have you not? Bear with me
No.
a second. Apologies. Right. So this would be the same that we had with Julianne yesterday.
Right.
So what happens is sometimes the other side to this, either the laptop, phone, tablet, whatever you're using, doesn't match up and allow you to do the drop out, drop in with a Teams thing.
Oh, okay.
But don't worry about that, because I'm sure Julianne, who is here now, as well as Victoria, I can see. If you guys want to show your camera and unmute, you can just use this platform for 6 minutes as a mini group. Is that all right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So Julianne, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am.
Hi there. I know you can't with your camera, but that's fine. And Victoria. Hi, Victoria. I don't think we've met. Are you there, Victoria? Okay, maybe we're having some technical issues with Victoria.
Maybe, yeah.
But if Beverly and Julianne, if you just want to discuss that key question there, just about why do you think you need data? Oh, she dropped out. That might be why.
Hello.
Hi, Victoria. You're back in. Hi there.
Hello. I'm sorry, my screen froze and I could hear you. You couldn't hear me. Can you?
No, that's fine. Okay. Well,
good.
So yeah, so you've got Beverly and Julianne on this little chat room here. If you just want to have a think about why do we need quality data, what would your 2 reasons be between the 3 of you?
Okay, guys, I'll probably lead this since I've been here probably a bit longer than you, except you, Danny. Why do you think we need quality data? I would say to measure our success, measure our outcomes, measure that we're all singing off the same song sheet and we're all doing the things correctly. Anybody else want to put an input?
Yeah, to review the standard of quality. Review, because what may have worked previously might need looking at in the light of any changes in the way we do delivery.
Okay.
And I think lockdown would be a good example of that. So how we worked with teaching in the classroom, how we work with students delivering in the classroom would be different to how we deliver via Zoom, for example.
Yeah. And how we adapt and how we can make these changes.
Yes.
Okay. Victoria, Julianne. Do you want to make any comments?
I would say it's also good for evidence. For example, right now with the whole COVID thing, there's certain exams that are not going ahead. So without having sort of previous data regarding, I don't know, progress or attainment, things like that, we wouldn't be able to predict grades or things like that. So it can stand as evidence of what has been done or what hasn't been done in various areas. So it doesn't just have to be grading. It could be risk assessments that have been carried out or things that have been reviewed.
Yeah, absolutely on that. Yeah, definitely. And it's also a chance for us, like you say, to reflect and look at how we can improve the quality, how we can improve delivery, how we can all work together.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Right, so do you want me to be the representative then?
Absolutely.
Since you volunteered so kindly.
So which 2 are you going to go for? Because I think I heard about 8 there.
I know. I think maybe we'll go to evidence and I can't even read my own writing because I was writing it and quality control. What did we say? The quality, to make things to make sure we're doing everything right, and maybe the adaptability to change in the future from classroom to online and virtual.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
you're happy with those two? Yeah.
Does that sound like 2.5?
So if you're happy, then, ladies, what I'll do is I'll invite everybody back in. We'll go off of us, and if you wouldn't mind, would you mind leading the way, Beverly, when I get going again?
Yeah.
If I come to you first, that's fantastic. Right, let's see if I can do this. Close the room.
Okay. That's so mean, Danny. No one ever interrupts me.
Are we all back in?
Curriculum plan.
1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Right, okay. Oh, there we go. Yes. 1 or 2 coming back in. So hopefully you were able to spend a few minutes there in discussion, and you have your nominee that's going to be able to feed back in. What we'll do first of all is, if Beverly, if you want to kick us off with your 2 from your group, and we are reminding ourselves, we're just looking at why do we need quality data.
Okay, our team, what we decided is we needed to review the quality of our delivery. So as we're changing and adapting from classroom to virtual, we need to review everything to make sure everything's being covered and delivered properly, and with the correct data and information that's being fed back, hopefully we can be on all the same track. And also to record evidence, you know, in some way, shape or form. Again, from classroom to virtual, the evidence recording will be on the same lines, but it would be a lot different as we're not seeing them in person. So this would be like the attendance through what we just spoke about through the virtual rather than classroom. So that's what we came up with.
Brilliant, thank you for that. That's good. Emma Graham, your group, who's your nominee for your group? We
haven't got a nominee, but I'm going to pick on Matthew Vine.
I'd expect nothing less from you, Emma. Thank you.
What to then, Matt?
Yeah, so we said a lot about recruitment and with funders as well. So like often Emma was giving an example of like funders with like achievement rates, and especially with the trackers that we use, whether people are on target, whether that be for accredited or non-accredited, and English and maths as well for the functional skills. And also when we said about recruitment, times in the past when we've been at the centre, we've like done open evenings like for the youngsters, but also like when we visit job centres as well. We can often show what we deliver, some previous work, like where someone's been. And following Lisa's email a couple of days ago where it said like everyone who joins this course is guaranteed an interview, that could be used as like a selling point, that we've got links to these places. So like rather than people finishing courses with us, they're not just finished, like you've actually got a progression and somewhere to go on to.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Cheers, mate. Charlie, last group, who have you got nominated?
Mr. Centre Manager Reports.
Oh, the man himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
We come up with a bunch of different aspects about why quality data are important. There's 2 main specific points that we picked out, which were curriculum planning. So this really impacts everything, actually. It goes down to not only the attendance and punctuality, etc., but most importantly, the grades and the pass rates. So basically dividing down the curriculum into a way that is well organised, well set out, and makes it simple and as achievable as possible for the candidates to pass, but also think, are there shortcomings or are there extra resources that are needed, things like that. So basically data can show also the ways that the curriculum is working well, but also in areas in which maybe changes are needed. And the second area is trends and patterns. Quality data can expose these actually, whether positive or negative. So it could be patterns in terms of attendance. So, for example, if a group of candidates are turning up late and they're taking the same bus route, then it can be the data that's showing that in the fact that they could be a similar amount of time late, but also on the positive as well. So if the pass rates are particularly high and the data is showing this, then maybe we can further things, take it to the next level, or communicate it out to other tutors. So yeah, so curriculum planning and exposing trends and patterns via data.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks for all the contribution. Obviously, it sounds like you've had well-rounded conversations around that as well. I think it'd be prudent for me then just to be able to move on and give some kind of basic bullet points from an SSG and also my kind of position and Lisa's position especially, and that filters into what Charlie and Emma do monthly around reporting against data and performance in particular, which is linked to all three groups' feedback on this. And then it also identifies just how pivotal your individual roles are as part of this kind of reporting and data awareness. Because if you are aware of the impact of that we'll look at in a few minutes, the bigger picture is easy. The difficult element of it is drilling down, which is what you've already started to do in all of your explanations. Is you started with a key bit at the top, and then you've drilled right the way down to, right, we need solutions and we need plans, and is it working? That is fantastic. It's music to my ears to hear that. Okay, so from my point of view, apologies for the slide running over the label there, but we must be able to have an accurate understanding about their position on provision. Okay, so where are they? Are they ahead of the game, behind? Are they on track to succeed? Great. Okay, if we don't know that, then as a tutor, you will constantly be feeling pressure and kind of this sense of chasing, because it is so important on many levels that our candidates are successful. Remember what our definition is. Success is they have stayed with us to the end date and achieved. Okay. We must be able to prove that we're doing the above competently. Okay. This is through a considered approach. So we haven't just covered our eyes, crossed our fingers and just hoped for the best. What we are doing is because we've taken time to think about it, review it and go again, and it's the right way to do things. And that word considered is a word that is used often and regularly by Ofsted. Is it a considered approach? Have you just done it because Google is the big buzz name and therefore you're just using Google Classroom? Or have you chosen, like Lisa has, several different platforms, reviewed it, gone backwards and forwards and said, this is the best one for our candidates? Okay. We need to be able to evidence the impact of our provision. So basically, KPIs are set there as targets, so they're a marker for a judgment. And those markers are set against previous judgments made and previous performance. So the rule of thumb generally is a 3% increase year on year. But we would be naive to think that we can keep increasing 3%. We can't. Some years we stay static. Some years we review and go off of last year's, which is underperformance, in order for it to be an accurate KPI for us to achieve. And hopefully you all know your KPIs for your group. It sounds like you do, because I'm already hearing we need 90% attendance and we need this. But your KPIs for your particular candidates from an individual into cohorts, that feeds into your service area manager. They present that to me, if you're aware or not. They present that, report that to me monthly. Okay. And then me and Lisa review those monthly reports. So I then quarterly report to the business and we look at trends. So just like you would do with a budget, financial budget, you're constantly reviewing and reporting and looking where we're going. Lisa is constantly reviewing provision. Is it fit for purpose? Are we meeting the labour market? Are we meeting our community commitment, as in, do people want it and need it? Is it accessible? Are we setting for failure? And then behind Lisa, you've got people like me, Jenna, Lisa Kelly, sometimes Priska, who are doing that impartial checking for her to say, yeah, you're on track, you're doing great, your team are flying, okay? So the performance of candidates directly affects the contracts, and a few of you have mentioned this and alluded to it. I'll not pull my words on this. If we've failed our candidates, so basically if we don't give them the right standards and we fail them by not providing the right provision and they don't achieve, if we do that successionally, we will not get a contract again. Okay. If you fail on one contract and it's a big one, all the people talk. Okay. And we then have the same data set that Dan and Emma Vars have to present to future funders or directly to ESFA and the government to access more money to be able to secure jobs, facilities, and more importantly out of it all, chances for more people to come onto our courses. Okay, so it's really important that we're aware that when these figures are given to us, they're not just plucked out of the air. Okay, they're there because they are contractual, and they're also probably being upped a little bit by us because our standards, we pride ourselves on doing more, being of a higher standard and being very realistic with our candidates. So the final one then, we must be able to influence an area for improvement in year, apologies for my typing, to maximise a candidate's chance of success. Sorry, Priska, I don't know what went on there with that spelling. Basically, if something's not going quite right, we need to be able to identify it not going quite right and act on it in a timely manner in year. We don't just figure out that an assessment for hospitality and catering is not working, and then we just think, well, we've got 3 more courses this year, so we're just going to roll it out and do exams and they're all going to fail. And no, Lisa and her team and you guys jump on it, see it, turn it around, and basically quality improve on our plan that we talked about yesterday. So just to give you an example then, okay, how can reviewing data enable us to predict future trends? So this is very accurate, it's very timely. We've been reviewing this for the last 8 to 9 months, and this is directly taken from our SAR. And I thought it'd be visual and it'd be good for you guys because you're on it. You're very articulate around this kind of stuff. But I wanted just to give you the headline. Okay, so this is us tracking study program achievement. Okay, that's all it is. So anybody who went on a study program, their data fits into this. So as you can see, 2017-18, we had 100% achievement. Amazing for a study program, just brilliant. The next year, it dropped to 86%. Okay, still really good for a study program. That's not too bad. But then you can see that last year it dropped to 65%. All right, so by looking at headline data, we can track, and we have tracked, and we've already identified this, that downward trend is not only a negative one, but it's accelerating. Okay, so either something has changed from 2017-18, or we have not adapted our curriculum design, our structure, our offer to then incorporate what is needed on that study program. Now, if we take this as an example, if you were to be able to access data and drill down more accurately to, say, one group of study program learners in their time frame, so it could be week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and you started to see the same trend that at the end of week 1, I wanted them to complete unit 1. Okay, I wanted them to learn, progress, possibly even be assessed on it. Okay, if they haven't done that, you're already aware that they're on a negative trend. And if that then keeps doing that week after week, you know that this is going to feed into the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is going to look like this. Does that make sense? Yeah. Again, I'm hoping that I'm just refreshing your knowledge on this, but we just want to identify it. This was a random one taken. There is lots that we're able to show projected up. The main thing with future trends here is that we can then discuss and turn this data into what we want it to be. So what I mean by that is, I purposely have not put on here how many people were enrolled onto study programs. Because if you were to look at that and compare it, it will tell you that in 2017-18, we had one cohort. That was it. We then grew massively in 2018-19. We doubled, okay? And not only did we double, but we also had some quite difficult kind of cases that we were handling. And therefore, from that, it was a rollover into the 1920. It could be that we had tutors, a brand new tutor or a tutor leaving. It could be that there was a change in qualification, the awarding body, the way that it's assessed. There is lots of things, but we're not asking those questions unless we know that that was on a downward trend. Is that all okay? That makes sense? Silence is golden. Sorry, Matt, I've just seen something come in. Potentially, I think Matt said there are these achievement figures from last year, so impacted by COVID. I think what we need to be aware of is that within that remit, the data is what it is. The argument then comes to support what the data is. So it's factual, which then allows Lisa, Emma, Charlie to be able to say with you guys, right, okay, drill down, tell me about what happened here and why we are where we are. But yes, it could well be that that was a key factor in there. So the important, and I'm aware of time, apologies, I'm going to skip on with this. We allocate the same way of managing individual cohorts through understanding a group's performance. Okay. We can make subjective decisions and implement changes. So what we can do from there is, off the back of managing individuals, we can do a group. And we can look at, from data collection, people within an age category. So if you are 19 to 24, how are you performing? Okay, and this pick system now will allow me and others, and you guys as well, to be able to look at, right, if you are from this postcode, how is your performance? Are you more likely to achieve or less likely? Well, that may well be because you're in an area of a lower demographic and you are feeling the pain of COVID restrictions, unemployment, etc., etc. It could be that we drill down and look at cohorts against ethnicity or gender or anything that we can think is a worthwhile piece of information to then look at what we've talked about, which is patterns and trends. Are we offering something or are we missing it? And it could be something very simple that we're missing that would then elevate, and it's very clear, the opportunity to maximize their potential. Okay. Tutors are pivotal to data, and I back that massively. So through managing individual candidates, you are directly impacting the bigger picture. So if you refer back to the graph, okay, if we have 50 people in 2019-20, okay, you need to be aware that that one person is important, because that one person is going to be worth 22%, aren't they? You know what I mean, at the end of the day? And that's going to elevate that figure 2%, and so on and so on and so on. Okay? And that is why you have ultimately the most important and worthwhile job. You are directly impacting data figures that are being seen. So for you guys, having larger groups is like, wow, this is a lot of pressure and things like that. Yeah, it is. But when you have smaller groups, Emma, Charlie, and Lisa feel 20 times pressured, because each of those people carry a heavier percentage for data reasons. Again, maths is there, isn't it? If you have 5 people in a group, each of those people are carrying 20%. So if one person doesn't achieve, you've already missed your KPI, which is why it's important to have an understanding that early recognition is important. If it's a 6-day course, on day 1, have they achieved what you wanted them to do by the end of day 1? And that could be filling paperwork. Doesn't have to be assessment. Okay. So, question 4 then. How does setting KPIs feed the bigger picture? Okay. Lise, do you just want to comment on that? Sorry to put you on the spot, but I think that change of voice for the same message might be good here, because I know what you're going to say. Go for it.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of you will know that got loads of feedback. I don't know if it's me. Danny, if you go on mute, that was perfect.
Sorry.
My biggest role is to communicate out to partners. That's what I do on a daily basis. It's what allows us to have such a strong relationship with the job centre. But I base everything off KPIs. So if the KPIs are strong, it's a very easy sell for me, and it kind of happens organically and naturally. For example, I have been requested today, next Wednesday, to give a full report on progression over the last 6 months into the job centre. And if the KPIs are strong, that's very easy for me. And if they're not, it's a very difficult conversation, because often when I have to give these reports, it's not sending in a document, it's like this. And often there are other people from other training providers also doing that report, listening into what we're saying. And I always have to be the best because that's the person I am. But also I have to be the best because of the KPIs that you guys have given me. So it's just really important. And that basically sets the trend for our recruitment. So if we've got really strong KPIs, our recruitment is really strong and that it flows through. If we've got weak KPIs, you'll find that often we stop courses and we have to reflect upon why they're poor. So is it the delivery? Is it the content? Is it the qualification, like Danny said? And we have to reflect and review. So I know that some of you have been doing the hospitality and catering level 1, brand new course that come in, big movements from the job centre, lots of referrals, but there was 1 or 2 units on there that were absolutely ridiculous that we didn't find out until we delivered them. We reviewed them, we changed them, and our KPIs are now better. So thanks for Mike, thanks for I think Beverly as well for feeding that kind of information in, and that's how we can feed the bigger picture with the information on the ground. Full stop.
Not going to use the words. Yeah, thanks, Lise. That is as cold-faced as it can be. That is a prime live example of things, and the difficulty sometimes can be that just like we do in-house, we interpret data. Externals do the same. So when we give them these brief to the fact headline reports, they will then start to make instant judgments against that and assumptions, and then they will challenge evidence against those figures. So if we are saying we are 100% attendance for 3 months, no one's ever missed a session, no one's ever been late, no one's ever done anything wrong, well, that is fantastic, because I know that if you're saying that, that actually happened, and me and Lise will shout from the rooftops. But an external will look at that and go, really? And they'll dig. And that is fine, because I know that what we demonstrate and what we show, not only is it true and factual, but there will be evidence behind it, because Lisa, Charlie and Emma work with you on an hourly basis with that. Okay, Lisa. So what did I write? So
sorry, Danny, really quick question from Mike in the chat box.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Yeah. Do we have a KPI that directly quantifies a learner getting a job as is a result of being with us? Yes, and Lisa's nodding. Yes, we do, and that is what we're saying. They progress into employment, and then we will follow up with their destination with a certain employer. So, for example, if they are on a swap course and they go into that employer and it's directly linked to that, again, that is gold dust for Lisa.
Mm-hmm. So just to give some more information upon that as well, there's progression, as we've talked about, is different depending on who you speak to. So speaking to a social worker, progression is the improvement in their social aspects. Speaking to the job centre, it's moving into work, but it's not always moving into work. It's moving closer to the labour market. So it's making steps towards. So you'll see that we have pathways of learning. So for example, when we write tenders and we're kind of looking at when we're bidding for money, there will be a percentage of what progression is what. So for example, if we were to put in a level 3 business admin tender, the likelihood is that the majority of them people, so maybe like 70%, so 70% of progression should be into work because they're learning at a higher level. Whereas if we're looking at tenders that maybe are more focused around the social aspects and bringing people closer and improving their mental health and well-being, it might be a higher percentage of that will move into further learning or higher learning, or maybe apprenticeships, or traineeships. So it all depends on what type of funding we're using. And there is a blanket, it is all AEB funding, but there's definitely small ring fences within our larger pots of funding that we have to look at. We also have things like that come into play, like postcodes. So having people from certain postcodes progress. So this is a really bizarre KPI, but one I have to look at. But if I have 2 people that go into work that live in central Bedfordshire, for example, that for our funders is really valuable. So that will give us probably the ability to work with 4 or 5 people outside of central Bedfordshire, because we have got them these 2 people within central Bedfordshire that have been progressed into employment. So although you can probably, and I'm happy to speak in more detail with anyone who's interested in this, although you might think that things are very black and white in terms of KPIs, because we can put them into boxes, achievement, progression, sickness, and all of this, it is very in-depth, and there's a lot of information that goes into things. And that's why sometimes when I first started working at SSG and I was in your position as a tutor and I was being asked for certain things, I often, as you all know me very well, my message back to my boss was like, what the hell are you asking me to do that for? That is stupid. Like that doesn't make sense. It's not logical. What's going on? It's because I didn't understand the complexities of what a KPI is. So there's definitely a lot more than just achievement, progression, success, and all of these things. And I'm happy to speak with anyone on an individual basis if you want to drop me a message. It's really interesting, but definitely something that you have to be interested in to want to learn more about, which I've learned to do, not liked to do, is what I would say.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, I think it's like mentioned there, it is really important that we understand that there is an element of our team not involved in this meeting today, which is our MIS and business support team. And Emma Vars in particular, is her role now is continuously juggling with no hands and lots of different factors and not letting anything hit the floor. So she is continuously working with Lisa backwards and forwards and the funders around selecting which people are on which band of money to allow this business to continue for us to provide the education. And again, that comes down to bigger picture, doesn't it? Okay. So
sorry, Danny, just one more thing I just wanted to say on that. Sorry. I think what's really important is I said I can speak to anybody if they want to know about that. But for me, that's definitely an invite more for personal interest. I think it's actually really important that you guys on the front line, you aren't privy to that kind of information, because actually at the end of the day, the learner is the most important. There is no way I'm ever going to come to and say, Mike, you cannot work with that learner because their postcode is this. I don't want you to be dealing with that, because I want to work with every single learner possible. That's my problem. I want to fix that problem. So as much as you might think, oh, why didn't I know this before? That is the reason. Like, you really shouldn't have to worry about it. If I can't give you funding for that learner because of the postcode, because of this reason, I'm going to find someone else who will give me the funding for that, or damn will. So sorry, I just wanted to clarify that, because I know some people might think, why didn't I know that before? But that's the reason. It's more of a, you shouldn't have to, because we will work with everybody that we possibly can, and when we can't, we will also go and try. Always. I
think it's relevant just to back you up there, Lise, that over the years I've worked here, guys, we have funded learners, like privately funded learners, because we haven't been able to finalize that final bit of pocket money from the government or whatever, and they are so far into their course that we would never do that to them. So we take the hit on that. And that is why, again, the bigger picture is about the accuracy of the timeliness of the data from the front line, because we can then see, right, okay, we've took the hit on those 3 people. Lise, roll your sleeves up, let's go. We need to find 6 in this specific area where we have got the money to then balance out, and we'll do that later on in the year. Let's keep it going. But again, like you say, that is for managers of their job, not because they're hierarchy, far from it. It's because it's their role. Nobody stands in a position saying you can or you can't for whatever reason. It's just your focus is on those people, and I 100% agree with you, Lise. It's a good comment. Okay, so just quickly to give you a very basic kind of analogy, but we've talked through this now. If you could start to think about your KPI being 100% achievement, you should be able to give a statement to someone like me when asked. So if I say to you, where is your cohort at? What do you mean on achievement? If you could say we're 50% of the way through the course and all the candidates have completed 65% of their assessment. Now, that one statement alone allows you, and I can see the eyes already circling around, that allows you to start thinking, well, if that figure is correct, which it is because he said it, they're ahead of the game, which must mean that they're really engaging. That must also then mean that they must be attending, and not just attending, but attending on time. Otherwise, they wouldn't have enough time to deliver the content to be ahead of the game. And these assumptions have come from one sentence, okay? And that is why it's really good to be able to not manipulate, but to be able to project and demonstrate data. Okay. It enables management decisions in a timely manner, and we've talked about that at length. It drives forward development, standards, growth. We talked about that at length. We've alluded to this one, but not really in detail. It allows for 3- and 5-year business plans to be realistic, okay, because of this transparent data. So this is now Lisa, Emma-ish, me-ish, and then Dan and Chris, who were looking way forward around, right, are we into a growth model, or are we going to be plateauing to bring our data back up to then be able to go for these big big trends? Okay, so finished on a bit of a blah 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 there, but I'm aware that we rolled over slightly, but I think there was some really good kind of directed in a different way, but it's all linked, isn't it? Conversations and actions actually that have come off the back of this. But do you have any questions around what we've talked about right now? I know that you will willingly ask as we go through, so I'm not going to pause too long. I would say that if you are interested, take Lisa up on the offer. If you're, do you know what, I'm not really that bothered either way. Just focus on what we've talked about, the keys, the key data, which is on the second slide, I think it was, about your performance data, and focus on your candidates. Okay, because if everybody does that, then we're going to smash every target and we don't need to worry about anything else really. The data will do exactly what we want it to do. Okay, fantastic. Right, if you fall asleep later, dream of a question, email it through to me, or speak to your Sams or Lisa, because again, they're well versed on this stuff now. But alternatively, have a great day, and I'm just going to stop recording.